Fujifilm sees me making this video, they might not like that. Obviously the X-T3 just came out. Named it Legendary Camera and Best Value Camera ever. Here we go. Wonderful. Just out using it yesterday. Almost froze myself to death. Next year, 2019 for Fujifilm. Part of this is speculation, but it should be all basically 100% accurate. And of course, we already know that the 100 megapixel GFX is coming out at the earliest part of next year. They've already announced it at Photokina. And the worst kept secret is the obvious, which is the XH1 camera. And everybody keeps asking me, even though I've made a video talking about the 9 advantages of the XH1 over the X-T3, like the stealth 5-point spring suspension shutter, the ergos, the IBIS, and a few other things. Everybody knows that the upgraded performance BSI sensor is going to be dropped into the XH2, which should be, if everything is utterly consistent, sometime in April, somewhere around then, for release in August or so of next year. Obviously they could come out with it now, but that would be like the dumbest thing imaginable for Fujifilm. Anybody that thinks that it's going to come out any sooner than that is deluding themselves. The reason for that is that Fujifilm would not shoot themselves in the foot or commit seppuku. Ugh! You know what seppuku is. By, trampling all over the incredible, enormous sales of the X-T3 if they... obviously that's not coming, so just hold your horses. I mean, this is only a $1,500 camera. Why don't you... Some people work on the premise of like, well, what about the next camera? Well, and then the next camera comes out. They're like, well, I don't know, maybe the next camera. If you if you actually do that, and I'm all about saving money, then you're never going to buy anything. It's like, well, I see this new so-and-so comes out. Maybe I'll buy like the 6th version of it like 5 years from now or something. Well, if you do that, you're never going to get anything. And I know you think that's subjective, but it's not. Since the X-T3 is a legendary status camera, and it really is, it's impossible that you're going to look back regrettably on the X-T3 like, oh God, I can't do that with this camera. Other than a lack of some super huge hardcore glass for the X-T3, which everybody knows about, there's nothing that you cannot do with the X-T3. Let's just be honest. So why don't you just buy the X-T3? But for the year 2019, the XH2 should be announced sometime in April or May for release in August or whatever. Obviously so. Later in the year, simply the fact that Fuji doesn't want to stomp on their incredible sales for the X-T3. The X-T30 should be coming out sometime, like basically a year from now. It could come out in June and be announced at the same time as the XH2. Obviously, Fujifilm's going to drop some more lenses, and now that they have a professional relationship with Capture One, everything is wonderful. I'm training myself on Capture One. I hate training myself in new software applications because my mind thinks a million times a second about 100 different things, and the last thing I need right now is to learn new application software, especially complex ones. But it is great. It still does not beat Lightroom/Photoshop, and there is no such thing as a replacement for Photoshop, period. But it is great. Fujifilm is I'm trying to think of a British car manufacturer that they were nowhere near as big as everybody else, but everybody knew that they were like the Rock of Gibraltar. And that's actually what Fujifilm represents in the digital photographic market. We have both crop sensor cameras, incredible ones, that have blasted the hell out of everything that anybody else has, whether that be full frame or not. And there's no such thing as a mirrorless camera versus a DSLR. Like, what the hell are you talking about, fat bald guy? There's no such thing as a mirrorless image, okay? That mirror flips up out of the way and has nothing to do with the actual image itself. That's a split mechanism to actually separate out visuals and the actual autofocus mechanism that's actually dropped down via the secondary mirror. Anyway, I'm not getting into technicalities, but there's no such thing as mirrorless photography. I know all the advantages of mirrorless cameras and video and on-sensor phase detect, no need for calibrating lenses. I know the advantages and differences. DSLR has advantages, mirrorless has advantages. Mirrorless has a few more advantages, but there's no such thing as a mirrorless image, okay? Every digital DSLR is also a mirrorless image because that mirror flips up out of the way before any image is captured. So technically, even a DSLR is a mirrorless image. the devil is in the details, and those are definitely the gritty details. So I've never made, unlike everybody else, mirrorless versus DSLR, mirrorless versus, what about just having the best camera? I've said since day one that I don't give a shit about mirrorless. It's like, well, sure you do. You've got like 7 Fujifilm mirrorless cameras. No, what I said I cared about, since you failed to listen to me, is that I care about superior cameras, better ecosystems, better customer support, better build quality, better everything. And that's exactly what Fujifilm delivers. Do I sound like a commercial for Fujifilm? Trust me, I'm not, because nobody's paying me anything, nor do I have any affiliate links. Fujifilm's doing everything right that everybody else is not doing right. Did I say that succinctly enough that I put a period on the end of that sentence? Let me repeat it again. Fujifilm is doing everything right that everybody else is not doing right. That's the reason why I own quite a few Fujifilm, excuse me, tongue twister there, quite a few Fujifilm mirrorless cameras. Has nothing to do with mirrorless. I don't really care about video. I just don't, you know? I don't. I care about superior cameras, and that's what Fujifilm's got. That's why I own them, you know? The real person should be asking themselves, what's the better camera, you know? Unless they are a video shooter and they have requirements. They need IBIS and, yeah, on sensor phase. Oh, that's wonderful for... I still don't need it. I don't even need VR. You know, I don't need VR. I don't need OIS. One and the same thing. I don't need IBIS. Unless you have Parkinson's disease or you're shooting incredibly low light, high ISO, nobody needs OIS and VR. Nobody needs IBIS either. No photographer. None of us photographers back in photography school were complaining about a non-existence of OIS or VR or in-body image stabilization. You know, we actually were taught to develop the skills such that we were able to capture the image, but anyway, I digress. So that's it next year for Fujifilm. I've been so impressed with them. Fujifilm also swept Photokina this year, and by the way, I've been happier than a pig in crap, happier than a woodpecker in a lumberyard with my GFX. My buddy came down and we went out shooting. I just took my GFX everywhere with me. You know, why didn't I take the XT3? I wasn't going to be shooting sports. I mean, I did some minor action stuff with the horse jumps, which is moderate action. It's not heavy action, but, you know, obviously was I at a loss for the deficiency of true autofocus like I would be able to have for my XT3? Yeah, to a certain degree, but at 50 plus yards with the GFX and the 250 millimeter telephoto lens, which is a 200 millimeter quiv, I was very happy and I got all the shots that I wanted to get, and then some. I'm in love with the GFX system. I absolutely am in love with it. I spent all my own money on it, okay? Nobody gave me, you know, the gear. I got all the receipts to prove that I paid for it myself, so. Anyway, that's Fujifilm outlook for 2000. It's 2019. Everything I could tell is not going to be some sort of super stealth. You know, Fujifilm can't capture it every year. They certainly captured it this year, 2018. But there's no indication that they're going to sweep everything next year, unless they come out with some huge surprise, which I'm sure they might. But I don't see that happening. I just don't see it happening. 100 megapixels is enough, the XH2 is enough, the XT30 is enough. I mean, that's enough to make anybody happy. We always are a bit spoiled. We always want to have our expectations met and exceeded every year, year after year, and there's not a single company that can do that. Nobody can do that. Fujifilm might pull it off next year, so that appears to be what Fujifilm will be doing for 2019. That's part based on fact, part based on logic, and part based on speculation. I love it when like rumor sites like pick on me for speculation. It's like, you're a rumor site. Your entire job is to speculate. But of course their job is also to sell stuff. The rumor websites are one thing only. They're not a source of information. Well, sure they are. No, what they are is a vehicle for delivering affiliate links, so you could click on them and they get kickbacks and line their pockets. Okay? It's a delivery mechanism. It's kind of like when you stick medicine in your dog's food. You know, you want him to take the pill, but you're truly feeding him a treat. Yeah, anyway. So, I digress, as I typically always do. Thank you so much for watching, and wait for it. Fujifilm. Bye.